The sky above the alien planet was a swirl of gold and violet, a living canvas of light and energy. On the ground, towers of crystal and metal reflected the brilliance, forming a city that seemed more alive than mechanical. The alien people moved, with elegance and precision, their forms tall and lithe, their skin shimmering with natural patterns that seemed to shift as they walked. At the heart of the capital stood the palace, massive and regal, built from the same shimmering crystal as the city but on a scale that dwarfed everything around it. Within its halls lived the royal family, whose influence reached across star systems. The princess, the crown jewel of the empire, was known not just for her beauty, but for her sharp mind, her independence, and her unyielding pride. Princess Lyria moved gracefully through the palace gardens, her violet eyes scanning the horizon. Her thoughts were her own, as always, her spirit untamed by the strict rules of court life. She had heard whispers that a human delegation would arrive soon. Humans were a species spoken of in cautious tones across the galaxy. They were said to be clever but reckless, emotional but unpredictable. To Lyria, they were primitive. And yet, curiosity stirred within her. The palace gates opened with a sound that reverberated like distant thunder. From the sky, a sleek spaceship descended, unlike any alien craft Lyria had ever seen. It glinted under the planet's twin suns, streamlined and smooth, almost organic in design. The human envoy had arrived. King Arian, Lyria's father, watched from his throne room as the ship touched down. His face was calm, but his eyes gleamed with quiet anticipation. He had long supported diplomacy with humanity, believing that alliances with other intelligent species were essential. Yet he knew convincing his daughter would be another challenge entirely. "Father," Lyria said, stepping into the throne room, her posture straight and her voice firm, "the humans are here. Must we entertain them? They are not like us. They will not understand our ways." King Arian studied her. "Lyria, diplomacy is not only about understanding. Sometimes it is about observing, learning, and yes, even teaching. You will meet them. You will see their worth, even if you do not yet believe it." The princess raised an eyebrow. "Father, I will never choose a human mate. That is certain. Our ways are different. Their species is inferior in many ways." The king smiled faintly, as if expecting her resistance. "This is not about a choice yet. It is about understanding. Keep an open mind." Even as she protested, the princess felt a flicker of curiosity. She had always believed humans to be reckless and emotional, yet there was something in the rumors about their courage and ingenuity that intrigued her. Within hours, the human delegation entered the palace, escorted by their own security, and adorned in uniforms that gleamed with practicality rather than beauty. The humans were smaller than the aliens, their movements less graceful, but there was a quiet confidence in them that demanded attention. The lead human stepped forward. He was tall by human standards, with dark hair and keen eyes that seemed to take everything in at once. His uniform was simple, yet it spoke of experience and readiness. He bowed politely, not as deeply as an alien would, but with respect clear in every movement. "Princess Lyria," he said in clear, careful speech, "I am Captain Elias Harrow, representing the people of Earth. We come in peace and hope for mutual understanding between our species." The princess looked at him coolly. His words were well-formed, but she could not help but notice his human posture, slightly rigid, and the way his eyes flicked briefly to the palace guards. "I am aware of your arrival, Captain. Humans are unusual creatures. I do not know why my father encourages this meeting." Elias smiled faintly. "Perhaps he sees what I hope you will see, that humans, while different, have much to offer." Lyria's eyes narrowed. "Different is not always better. In fact, it often leads to mistakes." The human envoy did not flinch. "We make mistakes, Princess, as all species do. But we also learn quickly, and we care for each other fiercely." The words struck a chord in Lyria, though she did not allow herself to show it. She had heard of human loyalty, of their unusual ability to survive in dangerous conditions, but she believed such stories were exaggerated. The first few hours of the meeting were formal and stiff. Lyria observed Elias and the humans carefully. They asked questions about the palace, the culture, and even the planetary technology, showing a mixture of awe and analytical thinking. Lyria found herself correcting them gently, yet noticing how quickly they adapted. Later, the court held a gala in honor of the human delegation. Lights floated in the air, shimmering like miniature stars, illuminating the halls. Music, both alien and human, blended in strange harmony. The princess walked through the crowd, observing. Humans moved differently, speaking openly and laughing easily, while aliens maintained strict decorum. Yet there was something honest in their gestures, a kind of warmth that the palace often lacked. During the gala, a minor crisis occurred. One of the palace's floating platforms, used to display rare energy crystals, began to falter. The aliens were momentarily paralyzed, unsure how to respond. Without hesitation, Elias approached the controls. His hands moved confidently, analyzing the energy flow and adjusting the systems. Within moments, the platform stabilized, the crystals glowing safely once more. Lyria watched, astonished. No alien, not even the most skilled engineer in her court, had reacted so quickly, and yet she felt a twinge of pride mixed with irritation. She did not want to be impressed, yet she could not deny that the humans had handled the situation brilliantly. "You act as if it is nothing," Lyria said, approaching him after the crisis was resolved. Her tone was sharp, defensive. Elias turned to her, his expression calm. "It is nothing, princess, just a problem that needed solving. We are trained to face the unexpected." Lyria's pride bristled. "Your species is small, weak, yet bold. Reckless, perhaps, but bold." Elias smiled again. "Boldness can be useful when guided by reason. Perhaps your people could see that." The princess turned away, hiding her thoughts. She could feel her curiosity growing, but she refused to acknowledge it. Her mind had been made up long ago. Humans were not suitable partners for an alien princess, and yet she could not shake the image of the human moving confidently among her people, solving a problem that many of her own advisors had feared to touch. The gala continued, with the humans mingling, laughing, and observing. Lyria kept her distance, watching with a mixture of skepticism and fascination. She noticed small things, how humans supported one another, how they joked with subtle humor, how they remained calm under scrutiny. It was different, yes, but not entirely unpleasant. At the end of the evening, the king called his daughter to his side. "Lyria," he said softly, "you have seen them now, not as stories or rumors, but as living beings. Keep your mind open. That is all I ask tonight." The princess nodded, though her pride would not allow her to admit the stirrings of doubt. "I see them, father, but I will not be swayed. I have made my choice." King Arian smiled knowingly. "Choices can change, my child. Time will tell." As the gala ended and the humans retired to their quarters, Lyria stood in the palace garden, staring at the twin suns setting over the horizon. The sky was a riot of color, gold blending into violet, and for a moment she felt something she had not expected: curiosity, admiration, and a hint of respect. She whispered to herself, almost without realizing it, "Perhaps they are not as simple as I thought." And though she would not admit it aloud, the princess felt the first stirrings of a challenge she had never faced before. Not a political challenge, not a courtly challenge, but something far more personal. Understanding a species that could surprise even the most proud and careful alien mind. The human envoy had arrived, and with him came possibilities Lyria could neither predict nor control. And though she would never say it, the first seeds of change had already been planted in her heart. The galaxy outside the palace gates was vast, full of wonders and dangers, and the presence of humans on her planet was a reminder that even the most carefully guarded life could be touched by something new, something unexpected, and something extraordinary. The night settled over the alien city, the stars glittering in the sky like distant beacons. Princess Lyria turned back toward the palace, her mind racing with thoughts she could not yet name. She did not yet know that this arrival would mark the beginning of a story that would challenge her beliefs, her pride, and her understanding of what it meant to choose, freely and truly, to see the value in another species. And for now, she remained firm in her declaration, though the echo of her own curiosity was impossible to ignore. "Father, I'll never choose a human mate," she whispered. Yet somewhere deep inside, a tiny spark of doubt and wonder had been lit. The morning sun rose over the alien city, casting a soft golden light across the palace gardens. Princess Lyria walked among the flowers, her violet eyes focused on the delicate plants that shimmered in the sunlight. Yet her mind was not on the gardens. It was on the humans. Despite her firm declaration the previous night, "I'll never choose a human mate," Lyria found herself thinking about Captain Elias Harrow. She tried to dismiss the thought, telling herself that humans were reckless and inexperienced, but the image of him calmly fixing the floating platform during the gala refused to leave her mind. In the throne room, King Arion awaited her. He had a gentle smile, knowing she was restless. "Lyria, the humans are requesting a private audience with you," he said. "It is not required, but I think it will be enlightening." The princess frowned. "Father, I told you I am not interested. I do not wish to waste time with them." The king's eyes softened. "Interest is not the goal. Understanding is. You will meet them, and I ask you only to observe." Lyria sighed. She had little choice. She nodded and left the throne room, walking toward the humans' quarters. Her steps were graceful but measured, every movement betraying her internal tension. The humans greeted her warmly, bowing politely. Captain Elias Harrow stepped forward, his eyes calm and steady. "Princess Lyria," he said, "thank you for meeting us. I hope to answer any questions you may have, or simply to learn from you." Lyria regarded him critically. "Humans are curious, yes, but sometimes your curiosity leads to foolishness. You may admire our technology, but that does not mean you understand it." Elias smiled faintly. "We do not claim to know everything, Princess, but we try to understand quickly and adapt. That is how we survive." She studied him, feeling an unwilling respect. He spoke without arrogance, without fear, yet with confidence. This confidence irritated her and intrigued her at the same time. "I will allow you to observe the palace operations today," Lyria said finally, "but only as a visitor. You are not to interfere." Elias inclined his head. "Of course, Princess. We will follow your guidance." The humans followed her through the palace, taking in the elegant architecture and advanced technology. They asked questions not in a mocking way, but with genuine curiosity. They noticed details others overlooked, the way energy flowed through the palace systems, the subtle mechanisms behind the floating platforms, the intricate designs that held both beauty and function. Lyria could not help but notice their attention to detail. While the aliens had mastered efficiency and precision, the humans seemed to approach problems differently. They asked why things worked the way they did, not just how. They observed with patience and humility. At first, Lyria dismissed it as mere curiosity. But as the day went on, she noticed small signs of human cleverness. When a minor problem arose, a malfunctioning energy conduit in one wing of the palace, most alien attendants froze, unsure how to proceed. Elias stepped forward without hesitation, studying the conduit and quickly identifying the issue. He suggested a solution that none of the aliens had considered. The princess's eyes narrowed. "You take risks," she said sharply. "Your solution is unusual. It could fail." Elias met her gaze steadily. "Sometimes, Princess, unusual solutions are the best ones. Humans have learned to adapt. We do not fear failure because we learn from it." Lyria felt a flicker of something she could not name. Pride, irritation, perhaps admiration. She refused to admit it. Throughout the day, the humans continued to observe and assist. They offered solutions to minor palace issues, often with quick thinking and resourcefulness that surprised even the most experienced alien engineers. Lyria's pride told her she should dismiss these actions, yet she found herself watching them closely, unable to look away. During a private moment in the palace library, Elias approached her quietly. The library was vast, with walls of crystal shelves holding knowledge from across the galaxy. The soft hum of energy fields kept the books preserved, and light danced across the floors in golden patterns. "Princess," Elias said softly, "your people are remarkable. The palace, the technology, Your knowledge is extraordinary. We are lucky to learn from you. Lyria turned, her expression guarded. You speak politely, Captain, but do you truly understand? Humans are clever, yes, but your species lacks the discipline to manage what we hold. Elias's gaze was steady. We may lack what you have, but we have other strengths. Courage, creativity, loyalty, traits that cannot be measured by technology alone. The words stirred something in Lyria. She looked away, pretending to examine a book, but she felt a quiet respect growing. Humans, they were different, yes, but they had qualities worth noticing. Qualities that her people often overlooked. Later that day, a small incident occurred in the palace courtyard. A transport drone carrying rare energy crystals malfunctioned, threatening to drop its load. Alarmed attendants froze, unsure how to act. Elias ran forward, analyzing the drone's controls and finding a solution in seconds. He stabilized the transport, saving the crystals and preventing harm. Lyria witnessed the act, her heart pounding in a way she did not expect. You act so boldly, she said afterward, her tone a mixture of surprise and irritation. You risk much for such small things, Elias smiled. To us, Princess, no act that helps others is small. Courage is courage, no matter the scale. The princess turned away, trying to hide her thoughts. Yet inside she could not deny the effect. Humans were not reckless in the way she had assumed. They were cautious in action, brave in choice, and thoughtful in thought. That evening in the palace gardens, Lyria walked alone. The twin suns were setting, casting violet and gold across the horizon. She replayed the events of the day in her mind, the humans' cleverness, their courage, their calm in crises. And most of all, Elias's steady presence, his unwavering confidence, and his quiet respect for her people. She whispered to herself, almost without realizing it, perhaps, humans are more than I thought. Her thoughts were interrupted by her father's voice. King Arian stepped beside her, his eyes calm but knowing. You have seen them today, he said softly. What do you think? Lyria straightened, hiding her internal conflict. I think humans are clever, yes, but I will not allow admiration to cloud my judgment. I told you, father, I will never choose a human mate. The king smiled faintly. Judgment is not the same as understanding. You are learning, even if you do not admit it. That is all I ask for now. Lyria nodded, her pride intact, but inside a quiet seed of curiosity had been planted. She did not yet understand it fully. She did not know that this seed would grow with every challenge, every observation, and every act of courage she witnessed. That night, as the stars appeared in the sky, Lyria lay in her quarters, unable to sleep. She thought about the humans, about Elias, and about the qualities they had shown. They were different from her people, yes, but perhaps difference did not mean weakness. Perhaps it meant something else entirely, and though she would never admit it aloud, she felt the stirrings of respect, of intrigue, and of curiosity, emotions she had long considered unnecessary, even dangerous, for a princess of her rank. The humans had arrived, and with them, a challenge far greater than any political negotiation or diplomatic meeting, a challenge to her assumptions, her pride, and her understanding of what it meant to value another species. Princess Lyria had always believed she knew the world. She had always believed she understood strength, intelligence, and loyalty, but the humans were teaching her slowly and subtly that her world was larger than she had imagined. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, a voice she dared not fully hear, perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps humans are extraordinary. The night deepened over the alien city, the twin moons casting gentle light over the palace. Lyria stared out of her window, watching the humans' quarters across the palace grounds. They moved within confidently, laughing softly, observing the palace with quiet awe. Her eyes lingered on Captain Elias. She could not explain why she watched him so closely. She only knew that something about him, and the humans, was different. Something that made her question everything she had believed, and though she would never say it, she felt the first stirrings of change. The first hint that her heart and mind might one day see humans not as primitive outsiders, but as worthy of respect, admiration, and perhaps something more. For now, though, she clung to her pride, her belief, her certainty. She would not yet allow herself to be impressed. She would not yet allow herself to change. Yet the humans had arrived, and nothing in her carefully ordered world would ever be quite the same again. The alien palace was quiet that morning. the sun casting long shadows across the crystal halls. Princess Lyria moved through the corridors, her mind still replaying the humans' actions from the previous day. She had watched them closely, noting their cleverness, their courage, and their unusual ways of thinking. Yet she remained firm in her belief. Humans were not suitable partners for an alien princess. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of alarms. Red lights flashed across the palace walls. The twin suns' calm light was replaced by a pulsing warning glow. Lyria's violet eyes widened. "Father!" she called, hurrying to the throne room. King Arion was already standing, his expression serious. "Princess, the human delegation is in danger. An unexpected faction has breached the outer city defenses. They are moving toward the palace." Lyria froze. She had heard of interstellar conflicts before, but never this close. Panic rose in the palace attendants, and fear rippled through the halls. The humans, however, remained calm. Captain Elias Harrow immediately organized the delegation, instructing them on emergency procedures and helping the alien guards coordinate defensive measures. Lyria watched him closely. He did not shout or panic. He moved with precision, assessing each threat and giving clear instructions. His presence steadied those around him. Even some of her people who had doubted humans looked at him with newfound respect. "Princess," Elias said, approaching her as the alarms blared, "you must remain here. The humans and guards will handle the threat." Lyria bristled. "And leave you to face danger alone?" Elias smiled faintly. "We face it together in different ways. Trust in your people, Princess. Trust in me." The princess hesitated, her pride warring with the truth in his words. Slowly she nodded, stepping back as Elias led the humans and alien guards toward the source of the attack. The outer city gates were under siege. Strange ships, faster and more agile than any patrol craft, had appeared suddenly. The attackers moved with precision, but the human delegation was prepared. Elias coordinated with the alien defenders, directing them to hold strategic points while using human tactics that the aliens had never considered. Lyria observed from a secure vantage point. She saw humans working in tandem with alien guards, adapting quickly to unexpected challenges. Where aliens hesitated, humans acted decisively. Where alien strategies were rigid, humans improvised with careful logic. A transport drone carrying emergency supplies came under fire. Without hesitation, Elias directed a small human team to rescue it. They maneuvered with speed and courage, moving into dangerous zones to secure the drone. Lyria's heart raced as she watched them risk their lives to protect the palace and its people. "Why do they act so boldly?" she whispered to herself. "They are small, yet they risk everything for others." King Arion approached her quietly. "Because courage is not measured by size or species. It is measured by choice, Princess. Watch and learn." Hours passed and the battle continued. Lyria saw humans saving alien soldiers trapped by debris, providing cover for injured attendants, and finding ways to neutralize the attackers without unnecessary harm. Their methods were clever, unexpected, and effective. At one point, Elias noticed a critical energy shield beginning to fail. Without hesitation, he ran to the control console. The shield system was complex, designed for alien physiology and intelligence, yet Elias studied it calmly. He adjusted circuits, rerouted energy flows, and stabilized the shield just in time to prevent a breach. Lyria could not believe her eyes. Her people had trained for decades to manage such systems, yet a human had mastered it in moments. Pride and disbelief warred within her. She turned away, unwilling to admit aloud what she was feeling. As the day wore on, the attackers began to retreat. The humans' quick thinking, combined with the aliens' strength and technology, had turned the tide. The palace and its people were safe. The humans, exhausted but composed, returned to the princess. They are remarkable," Lyria said quietly, unable to hide her admiration entirely. "Your people, they are unlike anything I expected." Elias met her gaze. "Thank you, Princess. We do what we can. And we learn from everyone, not just our own species." Lyria turned away, her pride preventing her from speaking further. Yet inside, a quiet realization was forming. Humans were not reckless or inferior. They were courageous, clever, and loyal in ways she had not imagined. Later, the princess walked through the courtyard alone. The battle had left marks, scorched ground, damaged drones, and weary attendants. Yet amidst the destruction there was life. Humans and aliens worked together, helping each other rebuild, showing patience and determination. Lyria observed silently. The humans moved among her people, offering guidance, lifting heavy equipment, and ensuring the wounded were safe. Their teamwork was seamless, their courage unwavering. For the first time, Lyria questioned her assumptions. Perhaps she had judged humans too quickly. Perhaps they were not just bold, but wise in their own way. Perhaps there was value in their differences. Her thoughts were interrupted by Elias, who approached her quietly. "Princess," he said softly, "you watched today. What do you see?" Lyria hesitated, searching for the right words. "I see courage, loyalty, cleverness, and respect for life." She looked down, unsure if she should continue. "Your people are unlike anything I imagined." I did not expect this," Elias nodded. "We are many things, Princess. But we are not perfect. We learn, we adapt, and we care for those around us. That is our strength." The princess remained silent for a moment, feeling a mixture of emotions she could not name. Pride, admiration, confusion, and something else, something quiet and unfamiliar. King Arian appeared behind her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You have seen them in action, Princess. Not in stories or rumors, but in reality. Remember, true understanding comes from experience, not assumption." Lyria nodded slowly, though her pride still whispered resistance. She would not yet admit that her perceptions were changing, yet she could not ignore the truth she had witnessed. Humans were extraordinary in ways her people had not predicted. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the palace gardens, Lyria found herself walking alone once more. She thought about the humans' bravery, their cleverness, and their loyalty. They had faced danger with courage, and they had done so with calm determination. And through it all, Captain Elias had led with quiet strength, his actions speaking louder than any words could. The princess whispered to herself, almost as if testing the thought, perhaps humans are not what I believed. Perhaps they are. Remarkable. Yet she remained firm in her declaration. "I will never choose a human mate," she said aloud, her voice steady. But the words felt hollow, even to her own ears. For the first time, Lyria realized that understanding a species was not the same as accepting them. And yet, understanding had already begun to change her thoughts, her pride, and the way she saw the world. The night deepened over the palace, the twin moons casting soft light over the gardens. Lyria looked toward the humans' quarters, watching them move among her people with quiet efficiency and courage. Their presence was no longer an intrusion. It was a demonstration of strength, ingenuity, and loyalty. And though she would not admit it openly, the princess felt the stirrings of respect, curiosity, and something more, a realization that her beliefs about humans were being challenged in ways she had never expected. For the first time, she understood that humans were not just a different species. They were capable of heroism, ingenuity, and loyalty that even the most advanced alien society might admire. And with that understanding came a subtle, quiet challenge, one that would test her pride, her beliefs, and eventually her heart. The humans had arrived, and with them a new chapter of discovery had begun. Princess Lyria's world had shifted imperceptibly at first, but permanently. The trials of the day had shown her that courage, cleverness, and loyalty were not bound by species, and that humans, small, unpredictable, and unusual, could rise to challenges in ways her people never expected. She could not yet admit it aloud, but somewhere deep inside a quiet voice whispered, "Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps humans are extraordinary." And though the night was dark and the palace still, Lyria could feel the first spark of something that would change everything she believed about humans and about herself. The palace was quiet the morning after the crisis. Princess Lyria walked through the crystal corridors, her thoughts tangled. The humans had proven themselves clever, courageous, and loyal. Still, she refused to admit that she might have misjudged them. Pride and habit held her firmly in place. King Arian had left instructions that the humans could spend more time in the palace under supervision, and he suggested Lyria observe them further. "You will learn more from interaction than from observation alone," he had told her. Lyria had frowned, but now she saw the wisdom in his words. She approached the humans' quarters. Captain Elias Harrow was already there, speaking quietly with his team, reviewing the events of the previous day and checking for any lingering issues from the battle. When he noticed her presence, he bowed slightly, a gesture both formal and respectful. "Princess Lyria," he said, his voice calm. "I hope you rested well. There is much to discuss if you are willing." Lyria crossed her arms, her expression neutral. "I will observe, but I warn you I am not easily impressed." Elias smiled faintly. "That is understood. Observation alone can teach much even without admiration." For the next hours they moved together through the palace. Lyria showed the humans her studies of alien history, her experiments with energy manipulation, and the protocols she followed as a princess. Elias asked questions, careful, thoughtful, respectful questions. He did not try to show off knowledge, nor did he act superior. He sought to understand. "Your people have achieved remarkable things," Elias said softly as they examined a holographic map of the city's energy networks. "Your technology is unlike anything we have seen. But it is not only your skill that is impressive. It is your discipline, your precision, and the way you guide your people." Lyria tilted her head, studying him carefully. "And you, a human, do you understand it fully?" Elias shook his head. "Not fully. But we adapt, we learn, and when we fail, we try again. Perhaps that is why humans can accomplish things that seem impossible." The princess frowned. She had heard of human persistence before, but to hear it spoken so calmly by Elias, she felt a new sense of their determination. There was no arrogance in him, no boast, only quiet confidence and clarity. Later, Lyria led Elias to the palace gardens. The gardens were vast, filled with plants that glowed faintly under the twin suns, fountains that floated midair, and pathways that shimmered with energy fields. Here she began to speak more personally. "Humans are unusual," she said finally, watching the patterns of light ripple across the pathways. "I do not understand why your species is capable of so much, yet seems so fragile." Elias nodded. "We are fragile, yes, in some ways. But our strength lies not only in our bodies or technology. It lies in our hearts, in our willingness to help others, and in our ability to learn from failure. Strength is not always physical." Lyria considered this. She had always believed strength was measured by control, intelligence, or power. Yet humans displayed a strength she had not understood, a strength born from courage, loyalty, and empathy. As they walked, Elias showed her small human traditions, explaining their significance and comparing them to alien customs. Lyria listened carefully, intrigued by the simplicity and yet profound meaning behind their rituals. She found herself laughing quietly at some of the stories he shared and feeling moved by others. "You seem different when you speak of your people," Lyria said softly, almost without realizing it. "You do not boast, nor do you seek approval. You speak as if your people are worthy, simply because they are." Elias smiled faintly. "Perhaps they are. Or perhaps I see the good I hope for in them. Humans are capable of greatness, princess, but we are not perfect. We must strive for it, together." Lyria paused. She had never considered her people's perfection in that way. Perhaps every species, even hers, had room to grow. Perhaps humans, though different, could teach lessons she had never imagined. Days passed, and the princess spent more time with the human delegation. She observed them interacting with her people, helping with repairs, offering solutions to minor disputes, and comforting those injured in the recent conflict. Each act was small yet consistent. Each act revealed patience, respect, and loyalty. One afternoon they reached the library again. Elias had noticed a section of historical texts that described an ancient alien experiment, one that had failed disastrously. "Princess," he said softly, "failure is not the end. Learning as humans, we value mistakes for the lessons they bring. Perhaps your people do as well?" Lyria considered his words. Her people valued perfection, and mistakes were often punished or hidden, yet she realized that humans' approach was different, not reckless but bold in a careful, learning-focused way. "You may be right," she admitted quietly. "Perhaps my people could learn from your ways, but it is difficult to change centuries of tradition." Elias's eyes held quiet understanding. Change is always difficult, but it begins with small steps, with observation, and with willingness to learn. The princess felt a stirring she could not ignore. She had always believed herself untouchable in her pride and her principles. Yet Elias's calm wisdom, his respect, and his quiet courage were challenging that belief. She did not wish to admit it, but she found herself drawn to him, not in the way of a mate, but in the way one admires and respects another. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the palace, The humans and Lyria walked through the gardens alone. The air was cool, and the soft glow of the plants created a magical, serene atmosphere. "You seem different, Princess," Elias said softly. "You observe, you think, you challenge. You do not follow blindly. It is admirable." Lyria blushed faintly, a rare occurrence for the princess. You speak as if you see into my thoughts," she said, trying to mask her discomfort. Elias shook his head. "I only listen, Princess. Observing and listening can teach more than any word spoken boldly. Humans, we notice what others overlook." For a long moment, Lyria looked at him. His words were simple yet full of meaning. She felt a quiet respect growing within her, a feeling she had not experienced before toward another species, much less a human. "Your people. They are brave," she said finally, "not just in battle, but in everyday life. They care for each other. I do not see that often among my own people." Elias inclined his head. "Caring is our strength. It is what drives us to face danger, to protect and to create. Perhaps it is something your people could learn as well." The princess turned away, hiding the emotions she could not yet name. Yet deep inside, she realized she was learning something new, not just about humans, but about herself. Humans were teaching her that strength was not only measured in power or control, but in courage, loyalty, and empathy. In the days that followed, Lyria found herself seeking Elias's guidance on small matters, both personal and practical. She asked his opinion on palace procedures, on minor political dilemmas, and even on aspects of her studies. Each time his answers were thoughtful, insightful, and considerate, and each time Lyria felt a growing admiration, a quiet respect that she struggled to contain. She reminded herself constantly, she would never choose a human mate. Yet the bond forming between them was undeniable. It was built not on obligation or expectation, but on shared experience, understanding, and trust. One evening, as the palace prepared for a small celebration honoring the humans' assistance during the recent conflict, Lyria stood in the gardens with Elias. The soft music of alien instruments drifted through the air. "Princess," Elias said quietly, "you have learned much these past days, and I have learned from you as well. Humans, we see value in all species, but rarely do we find someone as wise and capable as you." Lyria felt her heart quicken. She turned away, ashamed of the small warmth that spread through her chest. "You speak generously, Captain, but you must remember, I am a princess. Your people are humans. We are different. I cannot—" Elias stepped closer, though not intrusively. "Different does not mean incompatible, Princess. Understanding, respect, and trust, these can bridge even the greatest differences." She looked at him, her pride and caution warring with the truth in his words. She could not yet admit what she felt, but she knew her views of humans were changing, slowly, quietly, imperceptibly. A wall she had built around her thoughts was beginning to crumble. As the twin moons shone above the palace, the princess realized that humans were not only clever, brave, and loyal, they were capable of teaching her lessons she had never imagined. Lessons about courage, trust, and the true meaning of strength. And though she refused to say it aloud, she knew that her beliefs, her pride, and her heart were quietly shifting. The humans had come as strangers. They had proven themselves in crisis. They had shown respect, patience, and courage. And now they were teaching her something far more profound, that understanding and trust could create bonds stronger than any bloodline, tradition, or expectation. Princess Lyria turned back toward the palace, her mind alive with thoughts she could not yet name. She was learning, observing, and slowly, very slowly, beginning to respect the humans and the man who led them. And though she still whispered in defiance, "I will never choose a human mate," somewhere deep within, she felt the first flicker of doubt, curiosity, and something more. The day began quietly in the palace, the twin suns casting a warm glow over the crystal towers. Princess Lyria walked through the gardens, her thoughts still lingering on the humans. She had seen their courage in battle, their cleverness in solving problems, and their loyalty in helping her people recover from the recent attack. Each day had challenged her beliefs, and though she would never admit it aloud, her respect for them had grown. King Arian approached her, his expression serious yet calm. "Princess, the humans have requested permission to assist with patrols beyond the city today," he said. They wish to ensure that the attackers will not return. Lyria's violet eyes narrowed. She knew the risks. Venturing outside the palace beyond the protective energy shields meant facing potential danger. And yet she also knew that the human's skills could be crucial. "Very well," she said finally, her voice steady. "But I will accompany them. I must see how your people act in the field." Elias bowed respectfully. "As you wish, Princess. Your presence will be welcome." Together they moved beyond the palace gates. The city's outer sectors were filled with alien architecture, energy barriers, and small patrol units. The humans worked alongside the aliens, coordinating defenses and scanning for any signs of returning attackers. Lyria observed quietly, noting the differences in approach. The aliens were precise, following strict protocols, while the humans were adaptive, improvising quickly when unexpected situations arose. Each method had its strengths, and Lyria began to understand that the combination of both could be powerful. Suddenly, alarms blared. A small group of hostile ships appeared at the city's edge, moving with speed and precision. Panic threatened to spread among the alien patrols, but Elias acted immediately, issuing clear commands and guiding both humans and aliens to strategic positions. Princess Lyria followed him closely, her heart pounding. She watched as humans moved fearlessly into harm's way, using clever maneuvers to protect alien units and civilians. Their courage was quiet, unassuming yet undeniable. One of the alien energy shields began to fail under the attacker's fire. A group of aliens hesitated, unsure how to react. Without hesitation, Elias ran forward, coordinating with human engineers to stabilize the shield. Lyria watched in awe. He moved with calm precision, making calculations in seconds that saved the lives of many. They are remarkable," she whispered to herself. "So small, yet so brave." King Arian, observing from a safe distance, nodded. "Courage is not measured in size or species, Princess. Today you see it clearly." The battle continued, and the humans' ingenuity became increasingly evident. They set traps to slow the attackers, repaired critical systems under fire, and coordinated with the aliens in a way that maximized efficiency. Lyria saw them risking their own safety without hesitation, always focused on protecting the lives around them. At one point, an alien patrol unit was trapped beneath debris. Panic spread among the soldiers. Elias, assessing the situation instantly, directed a small human team to lift the debris safely and rescue the unit. Lyria could hardly breathe as she watched the humans act decisively, facing danger that many aliens would have avoided. After the attackers were driven back, the humans worked tirelessly to secure the city and treat the wounded. Lyria observed quietly, her pride and prejudice slowly melting away. She realized that humans were not reckless. They were courageous, clever, and deeply loyal. Their strength was not only in technology or muscle, but in their hearts and minds. When the city was finally safe, Lyria approached Elias. "Captain, your people, they are extraordinary. I did not expect this." Elias shook his head calmly. "Thank you, Princess. We do not seek praise. We only act as we believe is right. Perhaps your people will learn from it, as you have observed." The princess looked at him, her heart racing. She had spent weeks convinced she would never respect or admire humans. Yet here she was, unable to hide the truth. She did respect them. And she felt something more, a quiet, unspoken bond forming between herself and the human captain. King Arian approached, smiling softly. "Lyria, you have witnessed courage, intelligence, and loyalty that transcend species. Today you see humans not as strangers, but as equals in many ways. Do you understand now why I encouraged you to observe?" Lyria nodded slowly. "I do, Father. I see now. Humans are capable of much more than I imagined. They are clever, brave, and honorable." The king's smile widened. "And what of your feelings, Princess? Observation is one thing. Respect is another. And sometimes, respect grows into something stronger." Lyria's cheeks warmed, but she did not answer immediately. Her pride and caution were still strong, yet she could not deny the stirrings of admiration, curiosity, and perhaps something deeper. That evening, in the palace gardens, Lyria walked alone with Elias. The moonlight shimmered on the crystal paths, casting soft reflections across the flowers and fountains. It was peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos of the day. "You have proven much today," Lyria said softly, "not only in battle, but in thought, courage, and care. I underestimated humans. Elias inclined his head. Many do, Princess. But we have learned to endure, to adapt and to rise to challenges. Perhaps you have learned as well. Lyria looked at him, her violet eyes reflecting both the moonlight and her growing respect. I have learned that courage, loyalty, and cleverness are not bound by species, and that sometimes the heart teaches lessons the mind cannot anticipate. Elias smiled faintly. The heart is often wiser than the mind, Princess. Humans have learned that. Perhaps now you understand as well. For a long moment they stood in silence, the garden around them glowing softly. Lyria realized that her prejudices, her pride, and her certainty about humans had been challenged and changed. I cannot deny it any longer, she said quietly. Your people, and you, Captain Elias, have earned my respect, perhaps even more than respect. Elias's eyes met hers, steady and calm. Thank you, Princess. That is all I could hope for. The next day, King Arian called a council in the palace. The humans were officially recognized for their bravery, intelligence, and loyalty. The council praised their efforts in saving the city, stabilizing the palace, and protecting the people. Lyria sat silently, her mind reflecting on everything she had witnessed. When the council concluded, she approached Elias privately. Captain, I have seen your courage, your cleverness, and your loyalty. I cannot deny it. Humans are extraordinary, and you have proven yourself beyond all doubt. Elias bowed his head slightly. Your words honor us, Princess. We only act as we believe is right. I am glad you see it. Lyria looked at him, her pride softened by admiration. Perhaps I was wrong to judge so quickly. Perhaps humans are worthy, not only of respect but of trust, and of friendship. Elias's expression was calm, yet something in his eyes reflected quiet relief and gratitude. Trust and friendship are the foundation of everything, Princess. Humans value them above all else. For the first time, Lyria felt a true connection to another species. She realized that humans, though different, had qualities that complemented her own people's strengths, and she understood that pride and prejudice could be overcome through courage, loyalty, and understanding. As the twin moons rose over the palace that night, Lyria walked through the gardens once more. Thinking of the humans, of Elias, and of the lessons she had learned, she whispered to herself softly but with certainty, perhaps humans are not only capable but remarkable, and perhaps there is much to admire in them. Elias joined her silently, walking beside her. No words were needed. The bond between them was clear, not only of respect, but of understanding and trust. And though she had once sworn she would never choose a human mate, Princess Lyria knew that her heart and mind had changed. Humans were not simply a different species. They were extraordinary beings capable of courage, cleverness, and loyalty that transcended any expectation. The galaxy beyond the palace gates was vast, full of wonders, dangers, and surprises. Yet in that moment, Lyria understood that humans, though small and unusual, were forces of change, strength, and inspiration. And she realized, quietly and without fear, that she could trust them, and perhaps even admire them in ways she had never thought possible. The humans had arrived as strangers. They had faced danger, solved problems, and shown loyalty beyond expectation, and in doing so, they had earned not only the princess's respect, but her understanding and the first hint of something deeper. Princess Lyria, once firm in her declaration, now felt the first spark of a new truth. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were extraordinary, capable, and worthy of admiration, and perhaps one day worthy of her trust in ways she had never imagined. The palace was calm, the city was safe, and the princess, standing beside the human who had proven so much, knew that the world and her heart had forever changed.